What's up YouTube, welcome back to Celio's Network. Today I'm doing a deck profile on Reshiram and Zekrom tag team in the expanded format. I've only been working with this deck for a short time, but I do see the power level of the deck and some of the cards you can include in it, so I'll be talking about that in this deck profile. But first I want to shout out PotownStore.com. They do automatic PTCGO code delivery, and you can use code CELIO for 5% off of your order there. And then also FlipsideGaming.com, where you can use code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. So like I said, today we're talking about Reshiram and Zekrom tag team. So we'll look at that first. 270 HP dragon type, so it can utilize double dragon energy, which is a big thing that people are experimenting with in the expanded format. So fabled flare bolts for fire lightning, which can also be you can meet that energy requirement by double dragon energy. So Fabled Flare Bolts, discard up to 3 in any combination of basic fire and basic lightning energy cards from your benched Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So it caps out at 90 without damage modifiers. I am playing a belt and a band, so you can do 300 or 280 with those respectfully. So for a single attachment to the active double dragon energy, you can do 270, 280, or 300. And then we have energy acceleration to get a lot of energy onto the benched Pokemon to meet the requirement of the attack that you have to discard up to 3 basic fire and basic lightning from benched Pokemon. Now, it does have the GX attack Cross Break. This attack does 170 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. If you played End's Resolve from your hand during this turn, this attack also does 170 to one of your opponent's other benched Pokemon. So Cross Break with End's Resolve is actually a really nutty GX attack, but playing End's Resolve, such a bad supporter, especially playing it in the expanded format where it's outclassed by a lot of supporters. There's just better things you want to do with your supporter for turn in the expanded format. It's kind of hard to justify playing an End's Resolve in this deck, especially when it's so situational to even get off the Cross Break GX without using your supporter for turn. Like, if you need to draw into your other double dragon energy, or you need to accelerate energy off the End's Resolve, and that's super circumstantial, so you need to also get a Koko Prism for turn, but you can't because your supporter for turn is End's Resolve. It seems very situational. I have not tried out the End's Resolve yet, so I have not tried out a list with End's Resolve. I do think there's merit to at least trying it, like there is with most things, but I think I'm fine with having Cross Break just do 170 to one of your opponent's bench, so you can close out a game by hitting something that's damaged, or hitting a Lele or a Dedenne for 2 prizes. And Fabled Flare Bolts is very, very good. That's kind of the main attack of the deck, but we have other GX attacks we can use as well. So looking at some of our other attackers, we've only got a couple in this deck. I also have Tapu Koko GX for its GX attack. So Arrow Trail, when you play Arrow Trail's its ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may move any number of lightning energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon, and then switch this with your active. So you can get some lightning energy on it, maybe attach for turn. And then Tapu Thunder GX, 50 times the amount of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. Namely, this is very good versus Turbo Dark, which is being expected to be the most popular deck in Dallas Regionals, and also a very successful deck for that tournament. So Tapu Thunder GX is very good against that, and you can trade this 2-prize attacker into potentially a 3-prize attacker in that matchup where they have a ton of energy on board. Some lesser hyped up decks that this would also be good against includes Archies, since they have a lot of energy on the board. And maybe even other Reshirom variants it could be good against, and potentially Pikarom, since they will go full blitz and put 3 more energy on the board. So Tapu Thunder GX has its uses, but even if it was just good against Turbo Dark, I think it could be still included in here. Like, if it could never be used elsewhere, I think it could still be useful just for the Turbo Dark matchup, because of how popular we think Turbo Dark's going to be. Then we've got Naganadel Guzzlord. we're really just looking at its Chaotic Order GX attack here. So, for a colorless, turn all of your prize cards face up. Excuse me. So turn all of your prize cards face up for a colorless. If you have at least one extra psychic energy and one extra dark energy. So you have one energy and then a double dragon energy attached. Take 2 prize cards. So let's say you got a knockout on a tag team with Reshirom, and then you took a knockout on a non-tag team with something else. You can just close up the game with that GX attack without needing to knock anything out. Like if you're kind of out of resources and all you have is an energy on your Naga-Guz and a DDE in hand, but you couldn't really do big damage, you can finish up the game with Chaotic Order GX. And our last attacker, I have a 1/1 Noivern-GX line in here. So this, if you can get a Sonic Volume off turn 2, that's very, very good versus Baby Ultra Necrozma. It's good against Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team. It's good against Zoroark variants. It's good against things that rely on special energy like Double Colorless and Double Dragon, and there are a lot of decks like that currently in the expanded format. So its first attack, Distort, is also something we shouldn't look past. 50 damage, and your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand during their next turn. And Sonic Volume for usually a double dragon, or in this deck it's just for a double dragon and then another energy. Since we don't have the other energy requirements in here, it can't be met by anything but a double dragon. So double dragon plus X energy, 120, and your opponent can't play any special energy cards from their hand during their next turn. So this one-shots a Baby Ultra Necrozma, and it restricts them from attaching next turn. It's hard to read if Ranger is going to be in decks because it's such a bad card if it's not called correctly into the meta. So like if it's there but nobody played things that it counters, it's a dead card the whole tournament. But if people end up playing ADP and things like Sonic Volume Noivern, then it could actually get a lot of value. And then, so that's it for the attackers. So for our energy acceleration Pokemon, we have the 2 Ho-Oh with Rebirth. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may flip a coin. If heads, put this Pokemon onto your bench and attach 3 different types of basic energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So we'll just only be getting Fire and Lightning, but that definitely helps because that's 2 energy to discard with Fable Flare Bolts. And then also Tapu Koko Prism Dance of the Ancients. You can pop this into the Lost Zone and excel 2 lightning energy onto your bench. And then for our support Pokemon, we've got 2 Dedenne-GX. Discard your hand, draw 6 when you play it down. Shaymin with Setup, draw up to 6 when you play it down. And then Tapu Lele-GX, when you play it down, search your deck for a supporter card. And that makes up the Pokemon. So we don't have too many Pokemon, but we have to make room for a ton of energy in this deck. So there are Pokemon I'd like to play, like a one-of Baby Necrozma sounds good. Trying out the the Baby Dragon Reshiram that excels fire energy to your dragons sounds pretty good. An ADP sounds good for single prize matchups, so you can like use Altered Creation and then just like try to take 3 knockouts with Jet Pierce or something like that. So a lot of things you can potentially do with this deck. This is just the route I chose to go at the moment with it. And it's been working very, very consistently. Like turn 1 270 is very, very possible actually. So looking at trainers, like I said, I'm trying to go for consistency here. So I've got things like 4 Ultra Ball and then 2 Cherish Ball. So the Cherish Ball hits the Dedenne, it hits Lele-GX, and it also hits your Reshiram, which is your main attacker. And the 4 Ultra Ball, of course, to get anything. And then I've got 3 Battle Compressor, which is good for thinning the deck, getting the Ho-Oh and the energy into the discard pile, which you need. And I can also get a supporter in there if you have a Versus Seeker as well. Excuse me. So, like, Battle Compressor versus Seeker in hand equals having a supporter, or you can just have a live supporter, or you can have Ultra Ball or a Cherish Ball to get a Dedenne, a Lele, or a Shaymin. So there's a lot of outs to drawing cards and not being left with a dead hand. Then we've got Computer Search for our ace spec. Like I said, just going for consistency here. Trying to just see if we can blow up our opponent before they can do anything to respond. I've got a Chaotic Swell, or I've got 2 Chaotic Swells, and then a Field Blower. Since Silent Lab and Power Plant hurts this deck a lot, Silent Lab more so since the Ho-Oh can be used while Power Plant's out because it doesn't restrict Pokemon in the discard pile. But 2 Chaotic Swell and a Field Blower. So the Field Blower to help get rid of maybe a Garbotoxin, and then the Chaotic Swell to take care of people who can't Field Blower and play the stadium, so it can stop them from replacing our stadium with a power plant or Silent Lab potentially for a turn maybe. And then for energy acceleration in the trainers, we've got the 4 Max Elixir, and we're running 12 basic energy, so it hits pretty consistently. And then for supporters, I have 2 Professor Sycamore, and then 1 N, 1 Guzma, 1 Cynthia, and 1 Guzma Hala. This is an aggro deck, but I'm playing 6 search outs to our Dedennes. So, like, if we can go Guzma Hala to guarantee Swell into play, a Float Stone to either retreat into our Reshiram or a damage modifier for our Reshiram, and then a double Dragon Energy for our Reshiram. And then we can go like Ultra Ball or Cherish Ball for a Dedenne, draw 6 new cards, and try to get energy onto the bench that way. Like, if we hit a Battle Compressor off of that and flip heads on our Ho-Oh, then we're good to go, and we're hitting our Fabled Flare Bolts. And then, of course, for the tools, we've got 1 Choice Band, 1 Belt, and 2 Float Stones. And finishing up with the energy, I have 4 Double Dragon Energies, and then 5 Fire and 7 Lightning. More Lightning than Fire, since it's more important because of the Tapu Koko Prism and the Tapu Koko GX. I also should mention that the Noivern-GX here is a counter to Pyroar and a counter to Vile Plume Burning Shadows, but we do have to 2-hit the Vile Plume Burning Shadows with the Noivern-GX, so that kind of stinks, but it's at least an out. It's an evolution Pokemon for those kinds of things. Our deck is not very good versus a Hoopa or something that's a wall against GX Pokemon. Of course, we can take prizes with Chaotic Order in that case, and we can also try to attack with Mach Bolt. And like I said, I'm just going for consistency here. It's kind of a blow-up deck, like it's aggro, kind of like Turbo Dark, but we have less. I'd say we probably have less tech options or less situational attacker options than Turbo Dark seems to have at the moment. The Guzzlord and the Mew and the Sabltar are really, really good attackers in Turbo Dark. And I'm just trying to build decks and then see if they have a chance versus Turbo Dark, and this seems like it should have a pretty good Turbo Dark matchup. Since you can go Fabled Flare Bolts really, really early, like I said, as early as turn 1. And if they return with a Zoro Ninja to knock out this huge Pokemon, they have enough energy on board that we knocked them out with Tapu Thunder GX if we can accelerate that energy down. So that's currently my game plan. I also thought maybe you could use a Beast Bringer tool and take your first knockout with Nagaguz on like a bench Dedenne, Lele, or Shaymin, and then knock out 1 tag team with Reshiram, and you won the game there. So let me know what you guys think about Reshiram in the expanded format currently. Like I said, there are a few different ways to build it, and I'm sure plenty of cards to include, but you just can't fit them all into one deck. I know Rahul already posted a deck profile on his YouTube channel. I believe Tablemon did a video on Reshiram on his YouTube channel, but I don't think I watched that one yet. But I do know that Rahul's was different than mine. I can only assume that with how many cards you can put in a Reshiram deck, that Tablemon's was pretty different as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Shout out to PoTownStore.com and FlipsideGaming.com, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.